book review or book reports or whatever. Of course, this is Tell Me What You Want by Charlotte Fox Webber. Let me position myself here. There's about 300 pages in this book. I've gotten to page 40 so far, in just a couple of minutes. And I read Freedom, the chapter on freedom, of course, in the library about 2 days ago. And first two chapters, I'm going to split this into different segments, just because it's a lot to think about. The first two chapters are to be loved and to love and be loved, and then desire, which and then there's 12 chapters. Understanding, power, attention, freedom, to create, to belong, to win, to connect, what we shouldn't want and what we should, and control. Now, Miss Webber, or I guess Dr. Webber, is a psychotherapist. Now, I've met a couple of them, and the internet is filled with experts, and not everything on the internet is everything there is to know. This is why we have books in the first place. This is what came before the information. If I'm gonna choose a cliche, that the Dewey Decimal System was the information superhighway before the internet. And if you don't know how to use it, I can't help you. Limerence. I'm reminded of this word, of course, it's in desire. And you're right, Charlotte. That's quite the switcheroo on someone's plot, with that fella. Straight out of left field, honestly. And then towards the end of that the second chapter touches on how if you want to be desired, and if you want to be loved, like these first two chapters, you have to love yourself, and that you have to put the work in. These two things here, right? And those of you in Scotland that may happen to see this, up yours. Up your kilts. Yeah, that's it. I remember that sticker. You have to put the work in. Like, what do I want? What do I desire? How and whom do I want to be loved by? Barking up the wrong trees at certain times because of the mistake of love and infatuation for limerence, or something along like the holy triangle of desires, at least, sexual or relationship desires. She doesn't exactly get into not yet anyway with these first two chapters, the desires, for fulfillment. And I've said this before in my videos that I disagree with the cliche that familiarity breeds contempt. It's gluttony that breeds contempt, complacency. So that's the distinction I'm going to make between the two. And again, I just read the first two chapters. It took me like, I don't know, maybe about an hour or so to really read through it. I'm not up to my university standards where I could read 100 pages within, you know, at least like an hour and a half or something like that. You know, if I desire to be loved, then I have to put the work in. That's the gist of it. If I want to have a better lap time going around the track, then I have to keep running. I have to keep up with the discipline and have to keep the goal. You know, you have to keep the end goal in mind. In the first chapter, she's talking to a terminally ill patient, I think it's with pancreatic cancer, and how we hide things from ourselves and from other people in order to maintain this illusion of love and of organization, in order to maintain, you know, social ties and belonging. So connection, that's what she's going to get into here. I'll probably touch on this again. Not to rock the boat, but I'm a much different character. You know, if I'm going to relate this to myself personally, that I'm not interested in being loved by people that choose to exploit me. Now that want to see something continue for the purposes of an illusion or a fantasy. Now she's getting into this next chapter, understanding, because that's the thing, is that relationships we can get into these positions where it's just that it's the maintenance of a fallacy, of a lie, right? The lies that we tell, or the things that we avoid talking to each other about, because the truth is earth-shattering. And the truth destroys people. It destroys relationships. It destroys societies or the organizations. It destroys the illusion that you're in control. That's where I differ from you, Charlotte. What is love? Baby, don't hurt me. To be loved and to love. Well, of course, it's reciprocal. It takes two to tango, right? And when, in order to be attractive, we have to do things that make us attractive. You know, the disgust that we find in other people is a reflection of ourselves. It's the principle of mirroring, right? So in this black mirror, in this one-way conversation I'm having right now with this device, you know, I really appreciate Charlotte's work so far, but there's something missing in this, and you know, I come at this from, you know, obviously a more masculine interpretation, and I factor in a lot more. You know, this is the way that she and her editor have constructed this to make it more of a bite-size volume for the purposes of a self-discovery. You know, she talks about pride and shame in it so far. Now, it's okay to feel pride, and it's okay to feel shame, because these things lead you to a place, into a position, not just intellectually, but also feeling, to make a change and to take action, and to have that results in self-efficacy and then fulfillment, to seek the end and justice for oneself. So we'll see you after the next one. Yep, we'll see you in 2 chapters. Forgive me, I'm just cleaning my teeth. Anecdote, I'm pretty much vegetarian right now. There's no meat to be spoken of really, except some venison that's been in the freezer for years, and I have no idea how it is. You know, it's frozen like a rock. I'm really curious as to, you know, how that would turn out. And I haven't had deer meat in years, so I don't even know what to expect. I made cider today. The first time I made cider ever. Now, these next two chapters are understanding and power. I don't like these people that her clients. You know, except maybe the first one, the old lady. But the other 3, I don't like them. I don't like them at all. I don't respect them either. So what is there to understand about them? I'm going on this journey through these 12 different people, or these 12 different case scenarios. Well, it bothers me. It bothers me that people don't, you know, the root of a lot of these problems have to do, and Charlotte highlights this, is that people don't spend enough time alone. In general, we don't spend enough time alone for reflection or meditation. And I'm not afraid of being alone. You know, I've been alone for the majority of my life. As someone once said to me, we're always alone. But that doesn't scare me. You know, when you're in a relationship, you take on, you know, mirroring. You take on the other person's qualities in some regards, you know, because it's just like a symbiotic whole. Interdependence is ideal naturally. And hence why it's so hard to uncouple or break up, you know, because it's not just a chemical connection, a chemical bond, but you become accustomed to their face and to their habits and their wants and needs, desires even. And, you know, you're the people pleaser, you're talking about that in understanding of, you know, wanting and needing recognition and acknowledgement and deriving fulfillment or, you know, a reward out of that. You know, I would like to think that almost everyone has been in that place. And you know, people that don't have proper authority and have a proper authority figure in their lives, go through it the worst, or they have an authority figure in their lives, and that person takes advantage of them, and then they don't, you know, through different dynamics. Again, highlighted family dynamics, frenemies. Workplace culture, dominance hierarchies, that there's just some things that you can't negotiate with, and it's just that's going to be the way it is until the relationship is over and you choose to leave, or the person dies, plain and simple, or they're removed from their position of power in politics, because, you know, from the bottom, from root to fruit, the whole thing is rotten. That's the phrase. because it matters. It really does. Now, again, she does mention that a lot of her, she goes about this as self-depreciating description as being idiosyncratic, but there's a distinction here. Again, this book, its audience is towards the masses, for mass appeal, to try and help as many people as possible, I would guess. But there's a thing. I have this nagging feeling and sentiment in my head that these are white people problems, right? That other cultures don't talk about or don't have the same issues in the same way. That these issues that are being brought about in the first 4 chapters are because of cultural context, and that obviously she's a smart woman. I will not insult you, Charlotte. I definitely won't. But seeing your brain in a book at 300 pages so far, intellectually, I don't think we would see eye to eye on a lot of things. That doesn't mean I don't appreciate you. Nonetheless, it bothers me. It bothers me. It really does. Because there's a missing component to all of this, to this book. There's something missing from this so far. But that's just my feelings at 88 pages. Though the architect, she's experiencing an education. It's that classic, the way I see it, if she's 40 years old and she has a child that's under 5 years old, she put off being a mother in her early years to pursue a career, and that's the whole feminist idealism dilemma, honestly, that is in conflict with biology. Because that's one of the things that I've said recently is it's not a new, but it's a modification to the narratives of literature, of classical literature. And I said how about feminism versus biology? Because that's a conflict. That's a way to drive forward a plot, and it's a central issue amongst many women's lives, and actually many men's lives, including my own. Especially since I'm in the generation that was, most, I would say, led astray, because I don't agree with intersectional feminism. I've already said this in another video, and other videos before this. And having taken gender and sexuality and educated myself throughout the years, and personal experiences of the affects upon the culture, and observing and listening to other people, that there is just some irrevocable harm done to our culture, North American and European culture at large, which influences these issues, that brings these people to Charlotte's attention and in therapy, for whatever reason, because grief or trauma are usually the reasons. Loss, those are or trauma, those are the prototypical, stereotypical reasons to go. And maybe I'm just too hard. Maybe I'm too hardened to these other people. But I'd rather keep my guard up and be wrong than to let my guard down and be right. Because if I have a gut feeling about someone, my instinct is telling me, and still I let that guard down and let them in, then that's an issue, because then that leaves room for exploitation. Now, perhaps I'm thinking of relationships and dynamics of exploitation and advantage, but that's the nature of power in the dynamics, because again, this is as I address this from a more masculine standpoint. Men do not think like women. she talks, and women talk in circles, men talk in linear fashion, and men think of things a lot more competitively. That doesn't mean women are not competitive. Definitely not. And just what more do I have to say about that? The competition. Life's great competition is to reproduce. Who gets to have the children? Who gets to have the resources? Who gets to have the drugs? Those are three of the things I've come up with over the past year that drive criminality. That's the driving points of desire, or the if I'm going to respond to this. So the understanding. This comes around to self-fulfillment. Again, don't expect other people to understand you. I've been painting and making art for 22 years or more, and I wasn't good. I wasn't very good when I started. I was like a child, and I'm still like a child in a lot of ways. And all the great artists are known for, or at least the pursuits is just like martial arts, in that you start with a pure and innocent mind, and then you become tainted from white to black, and then back to white again, by becoming part of the earth and becoming humbled in knowing how much damage you can do once you know and understand that you are the weapon. You are the weapon, right? In your own life, you are as sharp or as dull as you want to be, and you can cut through the bullshit at any time that you want. Anytime. Don't suffer fools, otherwise, lest you become one. And throughout my self-education, after flunking out, not flunking out, suspended from Trent, and you know what I want. One of the things that I want to prove people wrong. That's like one of my life's purposes, is to prove people wrong. I thrive on negative energy. And when people reject me, that's another opportunity to say, fuck you, right here. I don't need your approval. I don't need anything that you have to offer me. But that at the same time, that's from an insecurity and vulnerability. Because we all need connection. She's going to say that. We need connection. No man in island. Of course, I've expressed this in the history of propaganda. And in the power chapter, I don't like that character at all. I don't like that person. My stance on homosexuality and transgenderism is well known, as I've put it through the history of propaganda. I have my reasons for it. I'm not going to expand upon or download them in this chapter or in this segment to dilute the message. But the exploitation that happens, that the power dynamic, in that the person that is being taken, or that is being groomed into a relationship like that, and by my perspective, right, and actually having suffered from like sexual abuse, is that they want it to happen, right? You want that attention, and the other person takes advantage of it. They're going. You seek out something from them. They seek out something from you, but then they exploit it further, right? In order to, but that's the whole sadomasochism thing. There's background context to that, and frankly, it's disgusting. The one line that was in there, and I'm just like, good Lord, and I'm not, here's the thing, is that homophobia, fuck that shit. Honestly, it's not out of fear. Personally, it's not out of fear. I don't think any man that is hard-lined about it fears gay people, and I'll say it again. I cross-dressed in university. We went out to bars. It was with a bunch of women. There was another dude there. I'm not afraid of it. I'm not ashamed of it. It was fun. It was it was fun to do. It was a different context, different cultural context at the time. Big whoop, right? And then all of a sudden, all the fun has been drained out of it. You can't, you know, maybe I'm a little bit behind on the culture, but you can't even mock women now without someone raising a stink or getting put on the sex offender registry. Like, just good Lord, it's just the sensitivity of the culture, which is then, you know, used for used for persecution and the silencing, the censorship of opposing voices. It's absolutely brutal. The pendulum swings from power or political ideology swings from one end to the other, or, you know, plumb bob on the matrices here. That you know, it goes from one corner to the next, and then it goes equalizes, and, you know, because every cycle, every circle, every revolution is unique to the observer, right? Every wave is new wave. Now, one reason why I'm disgusted by that man even further is because he sold out. Let's put it like that. He didn't believe in himself enough, or he didn't make a plan to continue on with his artistic pursuits enough, and devoted his time to something else that was a false idol, right? And then never continued on what actually gave him wholeness. Now I look at this image here, you know, again, I'll bring in the wave painting. Excuse me. How much power this image has, or how much power that image has, or how I'm pursuing a level of likeness to iconography, in that there's more power in the worship of creation than there is anything else. And the key to power is knowledge. If you don't know how to harness the beast within, so to speak, you know, that wants to lead you astray, and, you know, wants to make you something else than what you are, because you feel that you have to fit in, you're not fitting in your current relationship dynamics, for the ways of the world, you know, and dogpiling, right? That, you know, we're group. We are group organisms, right? Humanity is social, just like dogs. And dogs, you know, male dogs, you know, they'll try to hump each other, red rocket out, you know, as a means of showing dominance. They'll fight each other. And he didn't stand up enough for himself. You know, there's a similar here where he's coming from. But nonetheless, when you're not honest to yourself, like, that's where the other personal power comes from. When you're not honest to yourself, then you're lying to everybody else. And the thing that's missing from this is that you know, there's lower testosterone men and higher testosterone men, higher estrogen women and lower estrogen women, and this, you know, this is communicated through pheromones, and also, you know, other you know, mate selection stuff, the means by which we find each other attractive, not just by what we do, but by our corporal form. You know, I haven't touched this in 3 or 4 days, but this is real power. Here. Let's have a look, Charlotte. Right? Give me a second, I'll bring the wave painting in here. If that's not power, and if that's not understanding, then I don't know what is. Better to be alone than to be in a relationship that's a trap. And there's no worse trap than not understanding your own power and allowing other people to take that from you. Because a prison is anywhere that you can't leave. We'll see you in 2 chapters.